sending people on the road. But obviously, there does come a point if you're in an area and the storm is threatening and that decision is made, we ask you to follow it. For more information on Isaias, visit floridadisaster.org/info. We'll continue to monitor this, but don't be fooled by the downgrade. We do think it will be upgraded back to a hurricane later on this evening. With that, take care for questions. All right, well, we will see you guys tomorrow with another update. Hopefully all goes well tonight.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis there with the latest out of Florida on what has become Tropical Storm Isaias that is still moving closer to the Florida coastline. We do know now of some evacuations that are in place, especially there in Palm Beach County, which could get the brunt of this. But of course, the big issue here is also this happening at the same time that state is still trying to wrap its arms around this global pandemic, the coronavirus. And so he's telling people, hunker down in your own home if you can to stay safe instead of going to shelters. Let me get to meteorologist Chad Myers tracking the storm from the CNN Weather Center, and we also have Rosa Florida standing by in Miami. But let's start with Chad. As we're learning, the storm has been downgraded, but we heard the governor there, Chad, say it could still ramp back up.
And it's forecast. It is forecast to become a hurricane again. Isaias had a very bad day. It had a very hard day with wind and also very dry air. And so that shear that we call it in the dry air wrapped into the storm and tried to kill it. It was probably...
Ray was saying he was trying to speak that day. Have you heard from him?
And these ones
nope.
I told him no, I ain't heard from him for days.
There's not as much disturbance out there. And
sometimes I don't get that. But I think...
66 miles per hour and the hurricane just in the past 15 minutes. So we're still very close to that 70, 75 as a threshold. The threshold hardly even matters over your house. The dry air has been with this storm all day. It's beginning to lose that dry air. I believe it's beginning to get more convection on the north side of the storm. And so that means it's already trying to re-intensify after having that very long, hard day with the dry air. Moving on up somewhere very close to West Palm, and then not that far from Jacksonville, likely making another landfall from East Coast in Florida, somewhere around Myrtle Beach, and then farther on up towards the north. Now, by this point, the cone is so big, it's hard to tell you where this thing is going to be by the time it tries to get up to New York or Boston. But we will see some type of a very glancing low or a clear landfall tomorrow morning. Now, if it's farther to the south, it means it's a shorter distance to go. And so we're going to see an earlier landfall at 6 a.m. But if it is West Palm or somewhere like Palm Beach, you're probably going to see 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. And then the longer or the farther it goes up here and makes landfall, it would be clear in the day. Obviously, it just takes longer to get there. Hurricane watches and warnings are still in effect right where they were. So now we have tropical storm watches all northeast, Heidi, and almost northern. So here's the problem. 74 miles per hour all along the coast, big waves as well, and a surge to 4 feet. That could do a lot of things with erosion. You need to be out of the way of this if you can be. This is not going to be a Cat 2 or 3, but this is still going to pack a bunch of antigens around it overnight. Don't let that tropical storm name fool you.
Okay, Chad, we know you're going to stay on top of it and we'll bring us new updates as you get them. Rosa is standing by. Miami-Dade County has been hit hard by the coronavirus. And handle the storm. Is there any indication it'll be spared from the worst? You know, Miami-Dade County Mayor Dr. Jimenez tweeted that his county will most likely not be hit worse by Isaias. He did say that there could be strong winds and also rain, and you and I know that you'll need a hurricane for power lines to go down, or even for areas in Miami to flood. It'll flood with the sprinkler here just because of the sea level. But given all of that, the county still prepared for the worst. And they had 20 shelters on standby with COVID-19 type of protocol just in case, and that includes temperature checks and screening, and also 40 square feet, per person, so that there is enough space to social distance. And also, because these shelters are assumed, they were going to use individual classrooms to isolate individuals that have COVID-19. But right now, and based on what Governor Ron DeSantis just said during his press conference that wrapped up moments ago, it appears that the area that is most impacted right now is Palm Beach County, where a voluntary evacuation order was issued for Zone A. That is an area where there are manufactured homes and mobile homes. And again, this is only voluntary. It is not a mandatory evacuation. But I can tell you from talking to county officials here in Miami-Dade and also state officials before the 2020 hurricane season, that one of their biggest concerns of the 2020 hurricane season is because we are in a pandemic. Their concern was officials have been telling people to stay home because it's safer for COVID. But these officials say that if local officials issue an evacuation order, a mandatory evacuation order, people should heed the warning because your home will save you from COVID, but it will not save you from a hurricane.
Anna Flores and Chad Myers. Thank you both for that, and you with my good friend Sarah. Please stay safe out there. Let's bring in Dr. Julie Gounder. She's a CNN medical analyst and former assistant commissioner of health for New York City. Dr. Gounder, there's this concern that if people do have to go to shelters, they could become super spreaders. Do you see that as a valid concern? I am concerned about many people clustered together, families, people of all ages in shelters. I do think that could very well be a super spreader kind of event. We've seen recently at a Georgia camp that bringing together kids of all ages, adults together at an overnight camp resulted in a big outbreak. And so shelters sound somewhat similar, except that you might have people that are even older in a setting like that.
What impact do you foresee this hurricane having on testing centers?
Well, I think it's going to be very difficult for people to get out and get tested in the middle of a hurricane. I think, if people are going to be sheltering in place, in all likelihood, they're not going to be seeking any kind of medical care unless it's emergency medical care and dialing 911 to go to a hospital. So I think that puts the testing essentially on hold except for the sickest few.
It was just yesterday the president was there in Florida holding an event. Many people weren't wearing masks, no social distancing. And now today we find out Congressman Raul Grijalva has tested positive for COVID-19. He's blaming his Republican colleagues for not taking this pandemic seriously. And that includes Congressman Louis Gohmert, who is actually blaming his contraction of the virus on wearing a mask. And yet Herman Cain, who passed away from the virus this past week, he tested positive for the virus just days after he attended a Trump rally in Oklahoma with many people not wearing masks there. What is your message to leaders in this country who aren't doing what we know will help stop the spread of this virus?
They don't
It
give
really
a damn.
saddens
Especially
me
Donald
that wearing
Trump
masks
don't
has
give a
become
damn.
such a
Now, look.
political symbol.
Nope.
This idea that you're not free if you wear a mask. I mean, every law-abiding citizen follows certain laws. We drive on the right side of the road, not on the left side of the road. And to say, you don't want to wear a mask is sort of akin to saying, I want to drive on the left side of the road because that's my freedom. That's anarchy. And this is a situation where we really do need to have some rules and regulations that we follow in order to contain the spread of the virus. I can tell you, being on a ventilator, that is not freedom. Watching your family, your friends, your coworkers die, as I have here in New York City, that is not freedom. So I really hope people start to take it seriously and wear a mask.
President Trump said in a new interview, he
Because
believes there is such a thing as too
many
much
people
testing.
come out that Chinese place did not have on masks.
Well, there are those that say you can test too much. You do know that.
A new boy and two grown women did not have on masks.
Read the books. You don't have to.
First, your reaction to that, and second, explain to our viewers the importance of testing and why we should be doing more, not less.
We're not doing anywhere near as much testing as we need to be doing right now, even now, after months of the pandemic propagating across the country. And so to say that we need to be testing less is just a falsehood. The point of testing is that you want to separate people who are infectious from people who are not. And so it's really important that we be able to scale up testing and for people to get their results within 24 hours, ideally even faster than that, so that if somebody in a family is infected, they can isolate away from the rest of the family and not spread the infection to others. I remember many months ago when you and I were talking, when we were still in the same studio, and you were saying, we should have testing soon at people's, doorstep where they can take the stuff from home. And we're so far still from that. It's unbelievable all these months later. Dr. Celine Gallagher, thank you as always for being with us. The debate over whether to reopen schools is still growing, and concerns are on the rise after that outbreak at a summer camp in Georgia. We'll talk with one high school teacher about what we can learn from that. Stay with us.
I bet you they gonna open schools up in Pat County too.
Know what?
I bet you they open Pat County High School.
Now Carousel
Yep, they did.
moving the appearance
In
of
Bay
Stanley's
School.
toenails in just 2 days.
That's why we look so good.
Only 2 days, Carousel.
Why spend all your money on just one part at the typical auto parts store? When at rockauto.com, you can get all the parts you need with money left over to buy lunch. Go to rockauto.com.
Have you ever wanted to
Look at
learn
Pokemon
language
Machine,
like
what's
French,
going on with you?
Spanish,
Well,
or
damn.
Russian, but thought it would be too difficult or time consuming? Then go to Babbel.com and try it for
Well,
free.
you do that.
Babbel works because it's built
Do
around
what?
real life.
Babbel.
It teaches you everyday
Try to
practical
learn,
conversations that you will
you
actually
use that
use.
app.
In 15 minutes a day, you'll be able
Why
to
not?
speak a new language in just a few weeks. Babbel uses a modern conversation-based technique that makes language engaging, fun, and memorable. It starts by teaching you words and phrases. Then, sentences gradually get more complex. Soon, you're practicing short conversations about real-life topics. Babbel is created by language experts who use the spaced repetition method to help you learn quickly and remember what you learn. With Babbel, you can speak a new language, because language isn't just about learning new words. It's about
I
learning
want
a
to know
culture,
what
a
Mexican be
mindset,
saying.
and a new point of view. Babbel, language for life. Go to Babbel.com and try it for free today.
What the hell they be talking about?
In the next minute, an animal who's been cruelly abused by a thoughtless owner might not survive. Every minute of every day in America, animals are feeling the pain of being abused or neglected. These animals have done nothing to deserve this treatment. And if you agree, then it's time to do something about it. It only takes a minute to help, but it's a minute that will matter more than you can imagine to an animal who's being hurt. So I hope you'll take this minute, right now, and visit this website or call the number on your screen. Join with your gift of
The
just
Shadow
$19 a
Samurai.
month, and you can rescue innocent animals from endless suffering. The next minute could mean the difference between life and
She
death
must
for an
say, I'm
animal
getting
who's
the.
being hurt.
Someone must say at this moment when she woke up, I'm getting the hell out of here.
And I can tell you,
He did.
you will make a difference. So I'm asking you, please, visit our easy-to-use website on any device, or call this toll-free number now. And if you join in the next 10 minutes, we'll send you this membership kit. It comes
I
with a
ain't heard
magazine
from Baby
subscription,
Jane in a couple
an
days.
animal
Since
photo,
he
and
screamed
this
at me about,
limited edition animal champion t-shirt designed exclusively
about
for our new monthly supporters.
hang up the phone.
Please
I ain't
go
heard from
online
him
or
for a couple of
call
days.
now, and don't delay.
Have you?
Because there's an
Nope.
animal being abused right now.
His wife was saying he was trying to reach him.
Depend on you.
I don't know what for.
K-12
I would not give a damn.
Academy. I'm one of a growing number of high school students preparing for a great future. Destinations is tuition-free, online and in person. A place where I can get traditional education with state
Mama
certification
grave
and
on
take
her
my
birthday.
coursework or fields on with destinations college, career, or maybe a little bit of both. These schools may not be for everyone, but they're here for anyone. Anytime, anytime, for education, anyone. Enroll today. Hundreds of kids and staff who attended a summer sleepaway camp in Georgia ended up testing positive for the coronavirus. The CDC now warning the Georgia camp outbreak shows just how easily an outbreak can erupt when large groups of kids get together and strict guidelines aren't followed, and it serves as a warning of what could happen if
County schools are set to start reopening. I'm going to bring in Christy Carwat, a high school social studies teacher in St. Petersburg, Florida. And Christy, I know you're, at the Sarasota School District there. Thank you so much for coming back and talking with us. How does the Georgia camp outbreak impact your feelings about the upcoming school year?
It is just further evidence that it is not safe to go back face-to-face education at this point. And that is just, I have decided that I will not be going back into the classroom at this point in time because the risk is too high.
And I want our viewers to know, Christy, one of your colleagues recently lost his life to coronavirus. Robert Shackelford was a social studies teacher also at Sarasota High School for 27 years. He loved teaching. He shared with me he often spent his lunch hour entertaining special needs children by dressing up as Elvis Presley or Arnold Schwarzenegger and doing impressions. Christy, sounds like a wonderful man. How are you coping with this loss at the beginning of your school year loom?
It's going to be very, very difficult. I mean, my whole staff has been impacted by this, especially our social studies department, because basically we stayed in touch with him the whole time he was in the hospital through text messages, and we had a department text group going, and the last personal text I got from, we called him Shaq, the last personal text I got from him was, Christine, this monster is trying to kill me, and the monster killed him. And it was devastating. He's strong. He was 6'4", perfect shape, very careful, and where he went and what he did, because he was helping care for his elderly parents and his handicapped brother. So he knew they needed him, and he still got it. So I just don't know how, under the CDC guidelines or any scientific evidence, how it's possible for us to go to bricks and mortar, because there's no social distancing going to occur. Teenagers are going to be teenagers. It's putting us all at risk, students and staff.
Is your district supporting you in your decision not to return?
Well, I just texted my assistant principal today. I'm not alone. I'm able to take a medical leave of absence, so if we were to go remote, or if the numbers go down, I would be able to return to the classroom. I know several people that took early retirement. I also know one of my good friends from my school is taking a year-long leave of absence. That means that she won't be able to return until next year. But she has 4 small children, and it's just not the risk for her. She just doesn't want to get sick. She has too much responsibility at home to take care of.
Your school, Sarasota High School, as we mentioned, is set to reopen August 31st. Teachers who are returning the school year have to be in the classroom, but students do have an option to come to class or to do online learning. So what does that mean for other teachers at the school? I mean, if classes aren't as full, does that perhaps ease the worry about the potential spread of the virus?
It does, I think, but
okay, I'm coming. Hang on, Bobby.
Not that many in our
Let me
my understanding is chosen.
Let me see what they're paying first.
So basically what's going to happen is that the teacher is...
I don't want to go to the party. I don't know what they're paying.
Because we're going to have cameras and everything.
Oh,
some kids that are at home watching.
So what?
We're also responsible to teach the students that are in their classroom. So in some cases, because of the size of the classroom, it's still not going to be social distance. And of course, during passing time,
Who see your bike?
Ooh, she on that.
To make it safe.
Damn.
Making one-way.
Oh, you paying that by day night, Way? Paying that by day night?
Yeah. We both been
oh, yeah. Well, go to the party, Way. And tell her I'll be there just 1 second.
Okay. Okay, come. I'll come to the party.
Send him a letter to a white paper saying they can understand that it's better for kids to be back in school, but they said at this point the risk outweigh the benefits. And I think our governor needs to be listening to the medical professionals and the scientists rather than forcing us back into the classroom at this And our board is stuck because they're afraid that if we do go